first minicast for Exploring the Well. This is Blake Spurgeon.
And this is Kurt Spurgeon.
And so to just start off the bat, so a Japanese teen who lost all of his home and everything he owned in the tsunami in 2011 recently got his soccer ball back because there was some writing on it that his friends had scrolled on there when they were playing before the tsunami occurred, and it recently washed up on a beach in Alaska, and a good-eyed beachcomber saw it, and
they were able to trace them back.
They were able to find the markings, and there was some kind of identifying marks on it in terms of like what his friend said, like, "Oh, good job at this kind of high school," or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they were able to identify it and give it back to him. So it's going to be the first thing returned to a Japanese survivor.
Right. Unfortunately, it's just a soccer ball, but I mean, it's great to see. Yeah,
it's the only thing he has currently that he owned before.
Right. Well, it's amazing the kind of destruction that tsunami caused. I mean, I'm sure you watched all the videos like everybody else did, and just the sheer power of the
the before, during, and after kind of thing.
It's really unbelievable. Yeah. And the story is really one of those interesting things. Like you always think about like if you were to throw a bottle in the ocean and where it might end up. And here we know, soccer ball ended up
recently
in Alaska.
I read something where some guy off North Carolina or some 11-year-old threw a bottle in the ocean, and 2 years later, somebody in, I think it was the UK or something, picked it out of the ocean and emailed him and was like, "Hey, what's up?"
Right.
And they've been corresponding since. So it's kind of like, if you throw a bottle in the ocean, it could really get to somebody.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm sure there's a lot more bottles thrown in the ocean that don't end up finding somebody. But that's a really cool story. It's nice that he got that soccer ball back.
So another cool thing, Sandia National Laboratories revealed that this was about a month ago that they surpassed the break-even point for a fusion reactor, which means that there was more energy coming out than was put in. So if you put in a certain amount of energy, more than that amount of energy would come out of the reactor, which means it's a self-sustaining reaction. Right.
So that's the kind of thing that could that's what they've been really striving for over the last 2 decades or longer.
Right.
Is coming up with a fusion reaction that can power something essentially indefinitely.
Correct.
And you never run out of power. Well, how does the fusion reaction different from regular nuclear power, like a fission reaction?
Well, fission is breaking apart an atom, and fusion is like fusing together an atom so that they break apart. So, they call it a clean energy. It's complicated, but
right. Well, of course it's complicated, but the basic idea is that the benefits are, one, it's self-sustaining potentially, and two, you don't end up with the kind of waste problems. I mean, I was hearing recently about trying to get the projects that are looking at trying to get rid of nuclear waste and that those radioactive,
putting it in a mountain.
Yeah, exactly. And those radioactive isotopes last for thousands and thousands of years, and you never quite know. I mean, think about what we found, say, hunting for tombs in Egypt and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know now where we're putting that stuff, but those radioactive isotopes are going to be around in 10,000 years. And future civilizations might stumble upon them, not realizing that that's what they're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Just because records get lost, and just like we've seen it throughout human history, there's not a single example of human history beyond, say, 6,000 years ago that we haven't lost records for. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it goes. So
even like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, half the time I don't know where to put my car keys.
So on the same fusion front, there's another type of fusion besides the type of fusion we were just talking about, which is where they take a little pellet and they try to implode it with laser pulses all at the same time so that they can push the entire pellet inwards and fuse it together, and that's how you would start the fusion reaction in this sense. Before it's with magnetic fields, and the particles are entrained in a magnetic field and they move super fast.
Right. Okay.
But here you're imploding it inwardly, and they were able to develop a laser pulse that is 411 trillion watts of peak power, which is 1,000 times more energy than the entire U.S. uses at any instant in time.
Oh, my God. So my understanding of how fission works, like regular nuclear reaction, is that they do, like a bomb, don't do the same kind of thing where they have like a timed situation where they sort of.
But that's not for the implosion. That's actually only for the engineering. Okay. It's actually I don't actually know how common this is to know, but so they're imploding it inwardly. So when you have a fission reaction that's actually happening, when the particle goes and fizzles the first particle, everything is exploding outwards. So in order to keep everything inside and keep the fission reaction maintained at a critical mass, they have to implode with normal detonations inwardly, so that the explosion doesn't go outwardly and lose control before they chemically combust all of the fissile material.
Okay.
So the fission creates, and then they have to boom, shoot it inward so that it stays there. Otherwise, not all of it will go boom.
I see. So so I get what you're saying. So basically, what's happening is
it's just an engineering piece.
So it's trying to explode outward, and so they need to explode something inward to prevent it from exploding outward.
But that's all happening at a nanosecond, and then a nanosecond later, it does all explode.
It's outward. But it's instantaneous.
Correct.
I mean, it's not instantaneous
in your mind.
It seems instantaneous, but the reality is, in order for otherwise, it would just fizzle out.
Right.
Is what you're saying. So it would just fizzle out. The explosion.
Very small boom.
Yeah, very small boom. But what they want to do is they want to
very big boom.
Exactly. Well, how does that differ from like a nuclear reactor? Because that's obviously more of a slow, controlled type of use of nuclear fission.
Yeah, it's
doing it in smaller.
It's just different. Yeah,
and they just use that to heat water essentially to make.
Remember,
like steam
but you're
reactors.
doing it to control. You're trying to control that energy and use it as opposed to go boom with that energy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And destroy.
Of course, that's a different thing. Yeah, so entirely. Okay.
So hey, thanks for listening to our first minicast for Exploring the Well.
Yeah, we just want to give you a little taste of what it sort of sounds like, and hopefully you've enjoyed this little minicast. I'll give you a little teaser, and you'll come check out the full podcast.
Our podcast comes out every Tuesday, and check out our Facebook page and email us at exploringthewell@gmail.com. And Kurt's Twitter is at Kurt Spurgeon DC, and mine's at the Quantum Well, and we'll see you next time.
All right, cheers.